close your eyes now and let the heavy curtains of the day fall softly against the floor of your mind. There is nothing left for you to solve here, nothing left to organise, and nothing left to carry. You have arrived at the edge of a great velvet sanctuary, a place where the air is cool and still, and the only light comes from the ancient glittering tapestry above. Feel the weight of your body sinking into the mattress, as if gravity itself is becoming a gentle embrace, holding you distinct and safe from the world outside. The rhythm of your breathing is the only clock that matters now, a slow tidal pull that draws you deeper into a state of absolute relaxation. Imagine, if you will, that the ceiling above you dissolves into a transparent mist, revealing the infinite depth of the cosmos. It is not a frightening void, but a comforting blanket of midnight blue and deep violet, dusted with the diamond dust of distant suns. You're safe here, floating in your own private vessel of calm, ready to drift through the quiet wonders of the universe. We are going to embark on a journey through the stars, exploring the possibilities of life beyond our own little blue sphere. But we will not rush. We will float like a leaf on a slow-moving river, letting the current of imagination carry us from one wonder to the next. Allow your shoulders to drop, your jaw to unclench, and your mind to expand, reaching out to touch the soft, silent edges of the galaxy. As you drift upward in your mind's eye, leaving the terrestrial concerns far below, you begin to perceive the sheer magnitude of the canvas before you. For generations we looked up and saw only points of light, lonely and singular. But as we drift closer to the truth, we realize that almost every star you see, those pinpricks of light shimmering in the velvet expanse, is not alone. Picture a single star glowing with a warm amber hue. Now, imagine dancing around it, like dust motes in a sunbeam, are planets. We used to wonder if worlds existed outside our own solar system, but now we know that the galaxy is teeming with them. It is a crowded, silent dance. Visualize a massive telescope drifting silently in the vacuum, staring unblinkingly at a small patch of the dark sky. In that tiny patch, it found thousands of worlds. If you could fly through the galaxy, sweeping past star after star, you would see that having a family of planets is the rule, not the exception. There are billions upon billions of them. Just let that scale wash over you. Billions of sunrises happening right now, on billions of horizons that no human eye has ever seen. Some are rocky and grey, sleeping in eternal silence. Others are swirled with gas clouds of pink and lavender. The sheer abundance of these worlds suggests that the universe is not a lonely room, but a vast mansion filled with waiting chambers, each one holding a secret potential for life, waiting in the dark for a traveller to notice. Floating gently away from the concept of the many, we find ourselves drifting toward the specific, toward the delicate balance required for life as we know it. Imagine a zone around a star, a perfect ring of temperate comfort. We often call this the Goldilocks zone. It is the region where the heat from the star is neither too scorching nor too freezing, but just right. Picture a planet resting in this invisible cradle. It does not burn with the fury of a world too close to its sun, nor does it freeze into a solid block of ice like the lonely wanderers at the edge of a system. Visualize the surface of such a world. The light here feels familiar, perhaps a soft golden afternoon glow that never fades. Because the temperature is mild, water does not boil away into steam, nor does it lock itself into unyielding ice. It flows. Imagine standing on the shore of an alien lake in this habitable zone. The water laps gently against smooth, unknown stones. The air is mild against your skin, a perpetual spring. It is a rare and precious alignment, a cosmic embrace that allows the chemistry of life to begin its slow, complex dance. In this zone, the universe is hospitable, like a warm room on a cold winter night, inviting biology to take root and flourish in the safety of the perfect temperature. As we linger by the water of this temperate world, we let the current carry us to a different kind of planet, one entirely consumed by liquid. These are the ocean worlds. Imagine a planet where there is no land, no continents to break the horizon, no islands to interrupt the waves. The entire sphere is a jewel of deep, endless indigo. If you were to float above the surface, you would see only the reflection of the galaxy in the water, a mirror the size of a world. Dive beneath the surface of this global ocean. The water is deep, deeper than any ocean on Earth, stretching down for hundreds of miles. In these crushing, silent depths, life might not look like the fish or whales we know. Picture great bioluminescent ribbons of light, creatures that are more fluid than flesh, drifting in the eternal dark. They do not need the sun. They live on the heat venting from the planet's core, basking in the warmth of thermal vents that act like underwater campfires. It is a world of eternal swimming, where the concept of ground is a distant myth. The silence here is heavy and thick, a comforting pressure that holds everything in a slow-motion ballet. These water worlds are likely more common than Earth-like planets, suggesting that the most common experience of life in the universe might be the sensation of floating, just as you are floating now, weightless and free. Drifting up from the depths of the water world, we ascend back into the starlight and travel toward a concept that challenges the very makeup of our bodies. We are creatures of carbon, soft and pliable, built from the ashes of burnt-out stars. But the universe is vast and creative. Imagine a world that is hot, dry, and rich in crystals. Here, life might not be carbon-based, but silicon-based. Silicon, the same element that makes up the rocks and sand of Earth, could theoretically form the backbone of a different kind of biology. Visualize what these beings might look like. They would not be soft or squishy. They might appear crystalline, glittering like geodes in the harsh light of their sun. Their movements would be slow, perhaps imperceptible to our eyes, like the growth of a stalactite in a cave. They might feed on electricity or heat directly, absorbing energy through facets of living glass. Imagine a forest on this planet, not of wood and leaves, but of towering spires of crystal, chiming softly in the wind. These silicon entities would be resilient, able to survive in heat that would scorch us instantly. It is a reminder that life does not have to look like us to be alive. It can be hard, shimmering, and beautiful in a way that resembles a living gemstone, breathing in the dust and breathing out structure. Leaving the crystalline forest behind, we drift into the realm of pure thought, into the abstract beauty of mathematics. There is an equation, written by a man named Drake, which attempts to map the probability of civilization. It is not just a string of numbers, it is a ladder of questions. Visualize the equation as a series of glowing symbols floating in the void. Each symbol represents a filter, a gate that life must pass through. First, we count the stars. Then, we count the planets. Then, the planets with life. Then, the life that learns to think. Then, the thinkers who build radios. As we move down this line of probability, the numbers shrink, but they never reach zero. Even with the most conservative guesses, the equation whispers that we should not be alone. It creates a feeling of expectancy. Imagine the galaxy as a dark room filled with people holding unlit candles. The equation asks, how many candles are lit right now? It suggests that in the vast, silent theatre of the Milky Way, there are other lights flickering, other minds wondering about the math of existence. It turns the cold void into a place of potential connection, a web of invisible threads linking us to possibilities we have yet to meet. Yet, as we stare at the probability of those flickering candles, we are met with the great silence. This is often called the Fermi paradox. If the universe is so old and life is so probable, why is the sky so quiet? But let us reframe this silence. Do not see it as empty, see it as peaceful. Imagine walking through a massive ancient library at night. There are thousands of people there, but everyone is reading quietly. The silence is not an absence of life, it is a sign of concentration, of rest. Perhaps the civilizations of the stars are simply listening just like you. Maybe they have grown past the need to shout into the void with radio waves. They might be communicating in ways we cannot hear, like trees communicating through their roots, or whales singing across oceans. Or perhaps they are simply sleeping, waiting for the right time to wake. This great silence is a blanket. It means we are not being bothered. We are free to grow in our own cradle, safe in the quietude of our corner of the galaxy. It gives us space to dream without interruption, a cosmic solitude that is serene rather than lonely. We drift closer to home now, to a world that hangs like a ruby in our own night sky. Mars, the red planet. It feels like an old friend, familiar and close. Visualize the surface of Mars covered in fine rust-coloured dust. It is a desert world, silent and still, preserved in a deep freeze. But it was not always this way. Look closely at the ground in your mind's eye. See the winding channels, the dry riverbeds that carve through the rock. Once, water flowed here. Great rivers rushed over these stones and clouds drifted in a thicker atmosphere. We searched the dust for signs of microscopic neighbours, tiny ancient life forms that may have lived here billions of years ago. Imagine a time when Mars was blue and green, a younger sibling to Earth. Even now, beneath the frozen polar caps or deep underground, microbial life might still be sleeping, huddled against the warmth of the planet's core. It is a comforting thought that life might be tenacious enough to endure in the dust, waiting for the return of the water. Mars is a testament to memory, a planet that holds the history of its past life in its very soil, waiting for us to read the pages. From the dry dust of Mars we float outward, past the asteroid belt to the kingdom of the giants. Here orbits Europa, a moon of Jupiter. From the outside it looks like a perfect sphere of cracked eggshell, a world encased in white ice, scarred with reddish-brown lines. It glitters coldly in the distant sunlight, but the surface is a mask. Beneath that miles-thick crust of ice lies a secret, a warm, liquid ocean. Picture yourself passing through the ice, melting through the layers until you break into the black water below. It is warmer here. The gravity of massive Jupiter squeezes and pulls at the moon, creating heat through friction. This internal massage keeps the ocean liquid. In this sunless sea, there is twice as much water as all of Earth's oceans combined. Imagine the tranquility of that dark water. It has been sealed away from the universe for millions of years, a pristine, untouched sanctuary. Down there, in the eternal dark, simple life could be clinging to the undersides of the ice or swimming near the thermal vents. It is a hidden womb of potential, protected by a shell of ice, safe from the radiation of space, dreaming its own aquatic dream. As we rise from Europa's hidden sea, we turn our senses from sight to sound. We drift back into the vacuum and listen. In the vast history of our listening, there was one moment that stood out, a moment known as the WOW signal. It lasted only 72 seconds. Imagine a radio telescope, a great ear turned toward the constellation Sagittarius. Suddenly the pen on the chart jumped. A strong, narrow-band radio signal, loud and clear, hummed through the static of the universe. Visualize that signal as a single, clear note played on a piano in a quiet room. It was not random noise. It had the structure of something artificial. It came, it spoke its brief message of energy, and then it vanished, never to be heard again. Was it a lighthouse beam sweeping past Earth? A brief transmission from a passing ship? Or just the universe singing to itself? There is a mystery in the fleeting nature of it. It reminds us that we must be patient. It tells us that the universe speaks in whispers and brief glances. That single burst of energy is still travelling out there, a ghost of a sound rippling through the stars, a reminder that at any moment the silence could be broken by a greeting. Finally, we let the concept of the signal transform into the concept of the seed. There is a theory called panspermia, a beautiful word that means seeds everywhere. Imagine that life does not just start on a planet spontaneously. Imagine instead that life is a traveller. Visualize a comet, a dirty snowball of ice and rock, tumbling through the darkness of deep space. Deep within the ice of this comet are the building blocks of life, amino acids, or perhaps even dormant bacteria, frozen in a state of suspended animation. These comets are the gardeners of the galaxy. They travel for aeons, crossing the vast gulfs between stars. Eventually the comet crashes onto a young, barren world. The ice melts, the dust settles, and the seeds are sown. It suggests that we are all children of the cosmos in the most literal sense. The life in your veins might have started on a star 1,000 light years away, carried here on a celestial raft. It connects you to every other world. We are not isolated. We are part of a great cross-pollination. Feel the sense of unity in this thought, that the universe is constantly sharing its potential, casting seeds into the dark, trusting that they will find a warm, safe place to grow, just as you have found a warm, safe place to rest. And just as those celestial seeds drift through the void seeking purchase, we must consider the garden in which they might land. We often think of habitable zones around a single star, but let your mind expand outward now, zooming back until the solar system is just a speck, and you are viewing the majestic spiral of the Milky Way in its entirety. It is a pinwheel of light, swirling in the deep dark. Here too there is a sweet spot, a sanctuary known as the Galactic Habitable Zone. Picture the centre of our galaxy, a blindingly bright and chaotic downtown, crowded with old stars and bathed in intense radiation from the supermassive black hole at its heart. It is a place of fury and fire, too dangerous for the delicate cradle of life. Now let your mind drift to the very edges, the sparse suburbs of the spiral arms. Here the stars are too few, and the heavy elements needed to build solid ground, the iron, the silicon, the carbon, are rare, scattered like dust in the wind. But between these two extremes lies a ring of tranquility, a cosmic suburb where the environment is stable and rich. We reside here. It is a calm river in the galactic disk, far enough from the dangerous core to be safe, yet rich enough in stardust to build planets and bodies. Visualize this zone as a glowing ring of safety, a harbour in the tempest of the galaxy, where life is given the luxury of long, uninterrupted eons to evolve, safe in the quietude of the middle ground. From this safe harbour in the stars, let us descend toward a specific world that challenges our understanding of what a landscape can be. We drift towards Saturn, the ringed giant, and find its largest moon, Titan. As you approach, you do not see craters or rock, but a thick, hazy blanket of deep orange fog. It is a world wrapped in mystery, shrouded in an atmosphere thicker than Earth's. Let yourself sink slowly through these orange clouds. The light dims to a twilight hue, a perpetual amber dusk. As you break through the haze and gaze upon the surface, you see something miraculous: lakes and seas. But do not be deceived. This is not water. These are vast, silent reservoirs of liquid methane and ethane. Imagine standing on the shore of one of these alien seas. The temperature is hundreds of degrees below freezing, yet the liquid flows. The waves here move more slowly than on Earth, rolling with a languid, viscous grace in the low gravity, lapping against cliffs of solid ice that are as hard as granite. Rain falls here too, but it falls in slow-motion drops of liquid gas, tapping gently against the ground. It is a world that mirrors our own, but through a distorted, freezing lens, a familiar cycle of rain, river and sea, played out in an entirely different chemistry. It creates a sense of wonder that the universe can sing the same song in so many different keys, offering a home for life that might drink methane and breathe hydrogen, thriving in the chilly comfort of the orange twilight. Leaving the orange mists of Titan, we turn our thoughts to the resilience of life itself. We used to believe that life was fragile, a candle flame easily extinguished by the cold vacuum. But now we know of the extremophils. Picture a tiny creature, microscopic and humble, known as the tardigrade or the water bear. It looks like a small, plump bear with 8 legs, swimming through droplets of mossy water. But do not let its size fool you. It is perhaps the toughest being in existence. Imagine this creature entering a state of suspension. It curls into a dry, lifeless ball, a ton, shutting down its metabolism until it is effectively paused in time. In this state, it can survive the crushing pressure of the deepest ocean, the scorching heat of a volcano, and even the freezing, airless vacuum of space. Visualize these tiny astronauts drifting on the hull of a meteorite or floating in the debris of a planetary collision. They are sleeping travelers, waiting for water to return. When it does, even decades later, they rehydrate and wake up, continuing their lives as if nothing happened. This resilience teaches us that life is not just a fleeting accident. It is stubborn. It wants to persist. It suggests that across the universe, in the harshest deserts and the coldest asteroids, life is holding on, hunkered down in a deep sleep waiting for the moment to bloom. From the microscopic, we expand our vision to the monumental, to the ultimate expression of a civilization's need for energy. We drift to a star that looks different from the others. Its light is dim, shifting, pulsing in the infrared. This is the concept of the Dyson sphere. As a civilization grows, it hungers for energy, more than its planet can provide. Eventually, it looks to its parent star, the ultimate fire. Imagine a civilization so advanced that they do not just live on a planet orbiting a star, they build a shell around the star itself. It might not be a solid sphere, but a swarm of billions of solar collectors orbiting in a dense, shimmering cloud, like a hive of bees made of mirrors and glass. These collectors capture the starlight before it escapes into the void, beaming the energy to the habitats within. Picture living inside this swarm. You would not have a night sky. You would look up to see the other side of the swarm, a glittering tapestry of machines against the backdrop of the sun. It changes a star from a natural object into a power source, a dimming lantern in the galaxy. If we look out and see stars that are fading or flickering strangely, we might be seeing the architecture of giants, a cozy shell built to harvest the warmth of a sun, creating a vast artificial womb for trillions of beings to live in perpetual light. We float away from the grand machinery of advanced empires and drift toward our nearest neighbour, a small red star known as Proxima Centauri. Orbiting this ember is a world, Proxima b. It is close, so close that the star in its sky looms large, a great crimson eye watching over the landscape. Because the star is a red dwarf, the light that bathes this planet is not white or yellow, but a soft, ruddy glow, like the last embers of a dying fire. On this world, plants might not be green. To absorb the weak red light, the forests here might be black or deep purple, absorbing every photon they can. Imagine walking through a meadow of violet grass under a peach-coloured sky. The shadows are long and soft. The wind here carries the scent of strange, dark blooms. It is a world of perpetual sunset, a place where the harsh glare of noon never comes. The light is gentle on the eyes, casting a romantic, moody atmosphere over the mountains and valleys. It reminds us that sunlight is a relative term, and that somewhere, right next door in cosmic terms, there is a world bathed in the colours of a bruised plum, waiting for footsteps to crunch upon its dark vegetation. This proximity to the star brings us to a phenomenon known as tidal locking. Many planets, including our neighbour Proxima b, are likely locked in a gravitational embrace with their sun, just as our moon is locked to Earth, always showing the same face. This means that on such a world, the sun never rises and never sets. It simply hangs there, fixed in the sky. Imagine one side of the planet is a scorching eternal desert of unending day, bleached by constant light. The other side is a frozen wasteland of eternal night, locked in ice and darkness. But between these two extremes, along the Terminator line where day meets night, there exists a band of eternal twilight. This is the habitable strip. Visualize living in this zone. The sun is always resting on the horizon, painting the sky in constant shades of pink, orange, and gold. You would never need a clock. The moment is frozen in that magical hour before dusk. The temperature here is mild, a constant, comfortable breeze flowing from the day side to the night side. It is a land of shadows and soft light, a place where time seems to stand still, and the beauty of the sunset is not a fleeting moment, but a permanent state of existence. Drifting further out, we detach ourselves from the concept of stars entirely. We find ourselves in the deep velvet blackness between solar systems, where no star shines close by. Here, we find the rogue planets. These are the nomads of the galaxy, worlds that were flung out of their solar systems during the chaotic billiards game of planetary formation. They wander the void alone, untethered to any sun. At first, this seems a lonely frozen fate, but look closer. These worlds are not dead. They are wrapped in thick blankets of ice and dense atmospheres that act like a thermos, trapping the heat that still radiates from their molten cores. Beneath that insulating layer of ice, there could be oceans of liquid water, warm and rich with chemicals. Imagine a world travelling through the dark, a spaceship made of rock and ice. On the surface, it is eternal night, the stars brighter and sharper than anywhere else. But below, in the crushing dark of the subsurface ocean, geothermal vents glow like candles. Life here would know nothing of suns or seasons. They would know only the warmth of the planet's heart. It is the ultimate cozy isolation, a hidden sanctuary moving secretly through the dark, carrying its own internal fire through the cold expanse of the universe. As we consider these hidden worlds, we turn our thoughts to the silence of the galaxy and a gentle explanation for it, known as the zoo hypothesis. Perhaps the reason we have not met anyone yet is not because we are alone, but because we are being protected. Imagine a vast nature preserve on Earth, where we observe animals from a distance, careful not to disturb their natural habitat. We watch, we learn, but we do not interfere. Maybe Earth is such a preserve. Visualize advanced civilizations as benevolent guardians, watching our little blue marble with curiosity and care. They might be enforcing a cosmic rule of non-interference, allowing us to grow, to make mistakes, and to evolve at our own pace, without the shock of their technology or culture. It is a comforting thought that the silence of the sky is not empty, but respectful. It implies that we are seen, that our struggles and triumphs are being observed by ancient, patient eyes that act like parents watching a child learn to walk, ready to reveal themselves only when we are truly ready to join the conversation. It turns the void into a protective shell, allowing us the safety to dream our own future. In our own attempt to reach out across this distance, we created a physical handshake, a message in a bottle cast into the cosmic ocean. This is the Voyager Golden Record, attached to the side of a probe that is now leaving our solar system, drifting into the space between stars, is a phonograph record made of gold-plated copper. It is a time capsule of Earth. Visualize this golden disc glinting in the faint starlight, billions of miles from home. Etched into its grooves are the sounds of our world, the wind, the thunder, the songs of whales, the rhythm of a heartbeat, and the sound of a kiss. There are greetings in 55 languages and music ranging from Bach to Chuck Berry. It is a lonely, beautiful gesture, a testament to our desire to be known. Imagine an alien traveller, eons from now, finding this silent golden object. They place it on a spindle and suddenly, the silence of space is filled with the sound of Earth's rain and the laughter of its children. It is a piece of us, immortal and wandering, carrying the vibration of our existence into the forever, a permanent declaration that we were here and we were full of song. Finally, let us drift to a scene of double beauty, to the concept of binary star systems. We are used to a single sun, a solitary monarch of the sky. But in the galaxy, stars often come in pairs, two suns dancing around a common centre of gravity. Picture a planet orbiting such a pair. The sunrise here is a majestic, synchronised performance. Imagine standing on a dune of white sand. First, a large orange sun breaches the horizon, bathing the world in a warm amber glow. An hour later, a smaller, brilliant blue star rises chasing its partner. As the two suns climb the sky, their colours mix, creating shifting shadows, one orange, one blue, and where they overlap, a deep, rich shadow of grey. The light on this world changes throughout the day, shifting from the warmth of a fire to the cool clarity of a diamond, and at sunset the dance reverses. You watch one sun dip below the mountains, leaving the sky a twilight blue until the second sun follows, plunging the world into a starry night. It is a visual symphony, a daily reminder of the balance and harmony that governs the movement of the celestial spheres, a dual lullaby of light that rocks the planet to sleep. From that mesmerizing dance of twin suns, where the shadows play in double time, we let our imagination crystallize, shifting from the ethereal light of the sky to the solid, glittering reality of the ground beneath. Drift now to a world known as 55 Cancri E, a place that defies the very geology of Earth. This is not a planet of dirt and granite, but a world born of carbon and pressure. Imagine a landscape where the soil itself sparkles. We call this a diamond planet. Because of the intense heat and the carbon-rich chemistry of this world, scientists believe that a third of the planet's mass could be pure diamond. Visualize standing on a ridge on this glittering world. The ground beneath your feet is not dull rock, but a translucent, faceted terrain that catches the light of its nearby star. The mountains here are not jagged peaks of grey stone, but towering prisms of crystal. As the light hits them, it does not just reflect, it refracts, bending and splitting into 1,000 rainbows that scatter across the valleys. It is a world of opulence and hardness, a place of supreme clarity. Imagine the sound of walking here, a sharp, clear chiming like glass bells as your boots make contact with the jeweled surface. It is a reminder that the universe is capable of creating treasures on a scale we can barely comprehend, turning a planet into a single, massive gem floating in the silence, waiting to be admired in the dark. From the hard, cold brilliance of the diamond world, we soften our focus, letting the sharp edges dissolve into something vast, billowing and impossibly gentle. We drift into the heart of a nebula. These are the stellar nurseries, the cosmic wombs where stars are born. Picture the pillars of creation, great towering sculptures of gas and dust, stretching light years into the void. They are coloured in soft pastels, powdery pinks, deep violets, and ghostly blues. Imagine floating weightlessly into one of these clouds. It is not a solid fog, but a tenuous glowing mist. You're surrounded by the raw material of creation. Here, gravity is gently pulling the dust together, clumping it slowly over millions of years until it ignites into a new sun. It is a place of profound stillness and potential. The silence here is thick and padded, insulated by the vast clouds of hydrogen. It feels like being inside a great soft thunderhead at sunset, but infinitely larger. To float here is to witness the slow-motion breath of the galaxy, the inhale before the ignition of light. It is a sanctuary of dust, where the violent burning of stars is just a distant dream, and the only reality is the soft, swirling embrace of the cloud. As we float through the gentle warmth of the nursery, we let the currents of space carry us toward the other extreme of temperature, to a place known as the Boomerang Nebula. This is the coldest place in the known universe. While deep space is freezing, this nebula is even colder, chilling down to just 1 degree above absolute zero. It is a ghostly, bow-tie-shaped cloud of gas expanding so rapidly that it freezes itself, effectively stopping the motion of atoms. Visualize entering this zone of absolute deep freeze. It is not a painful cold, but a preserving, numbing stillness. Heat is the vibration of atoms, the frantic energy of movement. But here, everything has slowed down to a near halt. It is the ultimate state of rest. Imagine your own thoughts slowing down in sympathy with this environment. The chaotic buzzing of the mind quiets, the frantic energy of the day dissipates, and you become as still as a statue of ice. The Boomerang Nebula is a monument to tranquility, a place where the universe holds its breath. In this deep, dark blue silence, time seems to stretch out, unbothered by the ticking of clocks, wrapped in the comforting heavy blanket of the absolute cold. Leaving the stillness of the nebula, we turn our attention to the invisible architecture that holds all of this together. We often look at the stars and think they are the universe, but they are merely the decorations. The true structure is something we cannot see: dark matter. Imagine the universe not as empty space, but as a vast, invisible ocean. The galaxies are like foam floating on the waves of this ocean. We know it is there because of its gravity. It holds the spinning galaxies together. Without it, the stars would fly apart like beads from a broken necklace. Visualize this dark matter as a vast three-dimensional web, a translucent scaffolding that permeates the room you're in, the planet you sleep on, and the galaxy you drift through. It is a comforting thought that there is an unseen presence, a gravitational embrace that ensures nothing is lost. It is the heavy, supportive hand of the cosmos cradling the visible world. You cannot touch it or see it, but it is there, massive and constant, a guarantee that the universe is not falling apart, but is being held securely in place by a mysterious, benevolent glue. From the static structure of the web, we shift our perception to the movement within it, to the ripples in the pond. These are gravitational waves. For centuries we thought space was a fixed stage, but now we know that space is more like a fabric or a surface of water. When massive objects like black holes dance and collide, they send shivers through this fabric. Imagine you are floating in a calm lake. Somewhere, far away, a stone is dropped. You feel the gentle bobbing of the wave as it passes under you. This is what happens to the Earth, and to you, when these cosmic waves pass through. Space itself stretches and squeezes by a tiny, imperceptible amount. Visualize these waves washing over you right now, originating from a collision 1 billion years ago. They pass through your walls, through your body, stretching you thinner than an atom and then squeezing you back. A cosmic massage that connects you to the most powerful events in history. It reminds us that we are not separate from the stars. We are woven into the same blanket, trembling with the same subtle rhythm that pulses through the voids of deep space. Drifting on these ripples, we follow them back to their source, finding a celestial object that acts as the heartbeat of the galaxy, the pulsar. These are the remnants of massive stars that have collapsed and are now spinning incredibly fast. They are the lighthouses of the universe. Picture a small, incredibly dense sphere, only a few miles wide, spinning hundreds of times a second. From its magnetic poles, it shoots out twin beams of intense radiation, sweeping across the cosmos like the beam of a lighthouse cutting through the fog. Imagine watching a pulsar from a safe distance. You see a rhythmic flash, flash, flash. It is steady, precise, more accurate than any atomic clock on Earth. The sound of a pulsar, if converted to audio, is a steady drumming, a rapid, hypnotic beat. Let your breathing align with this cosmic tempo. It is a signal that endures for aeons, a steady anchor in the chaos. To watch a pulsar is to be hypnotized by the clockwork of physics, a repetitive, soothing visual that lulls the mind into a trance, reminding you that there is a steady, rhythmic order underlying the wild expanse of the stars. We float away from the energetic spinning of the pulsar and seek a place of perfect equilibrium, a quiet parking spot in the void known as a Lagrange point. In the space between two large bodies, like the Earth and the Sun, there are specific points where the gravitational pull of both cancels each other out perfectly. Imagine drifting into one of these invisible pockets. It is a place of zero effort. If you place a spacecraft here, it does not fall toward the Sun, nor does it fall back to Earth. It simply stays. It is a cosmic eddy in the river of gravity, a sanctuary of balance. Visualize yourself resting in this point. There is no push, no pull. You're suspended in a perfect stalemate of forces. It is the physical definition of peace, not the absence of gravity, but the perfect resolution of it. Here, you can rest indefinitely, held in the palm of the orbital mechanics, watching the planets turn while you remain still, a silent observer in the eye of the storm. From this point of balance, we let gravity take hold of us again, pulling us toward a class of planets that make Earth feel small and fragile. These are the super-Earths. Imagine a world that is rocky and terrestrial like ours, but 2 or 3 times the size. On these worlds, gravity is much stronger. If you were to stand there, you would feel incredibly heavy, as if a weighted blanket were draped over your shoulders. But let us reframe that heaviness. Imagine it not as a burden, but as a grounding force. On a super-Earth, the landscapes would be different. Mountains might not rise as high, pulled down by the planet's grip, creating vast rolling plateaus and flattened, expansive horizons. The atmosphere would be thick and rich, hugging the ground. To sleep on a super-Earth would be to feel totally supported, held firmly against the mattress by the planet itself. There is no floating away here. There is only a deep, solid connection to the ground. It is a world that commands you to lie down, to surrender to the pull, and to let the immense mass of the world anchor you into a deep, immovable rest. We leave the heavy gravity behind and drift toward the outer edges of our own solar neighbourhood, to the twilight world of Pluto and the Kuiper Belt. For a long time we thought this was just a dead rock, but when we finally looked closely, we found a heart. On the surface of Pluto, there is a vast plain shaped exactly like a heart, made of frozen nitrogen. This is not stagnant ice, it is a glacier. But because the surface is so cold, the nitrogen ice flows like slow-moving toothpaste or molten wax. Visualize this slow, creeping movement. There are no crashing waves or rushing rivers here, only the glacial, creeping slide of the ice, moving inches over thousands of years. It turns over slowly, churning like a pot of thick soup on a low simmer, erasing craters and smoothing the surface. It is a landscape of slow-motion healing. To watch Pluto's heart is to watch geology happening at the speed of a dream. It is a reminder that even at the frozen edge of the system, there is warmth inside, and there is movement, quiet and deliberate, reshaping the world while everyone else is looking away. Finally, we pull back, further and further, until the planets and the stars and the nebulas all merge together. We're no longer looking at objects. We're looking at the structure of the entire universe. We see the cosmic web. On the grandest scale, the universe looks remarkably like a neural network, like the neurons in a human brain. Galaxies are not scattered randomly. They are strung along invisible filaments of dark matter, glowing like pearls on a string. Between these filaments are vast voids of emptiness. The structure looks like a sponge or a web of light. Visualize this immense network. It implies a connection. Just as the neurons in your mind connect to form a thought, the galaxies connect to form the universe. You're a small, thinking part of this greater mind. The atoms in your body mimic the structure of the stars. The network of your brain mimics the web of the galaxies. We are the universe observing itself. Feel the unity of that image, that you're not just in the universe, you are of it. A microscopic mirror of the majestic web that stretches across the infinite, glowing softly in the dark, connected by threads of gravity and light to everything that ever was and ever will be. And within this vast, glowing neural network of the cosmos, nothing is truly static. The filaments of light and the pearls of galaxies are not frozen in place, they are flowing. Just as blood moves through a vein or water moves through a delta, the galaxies of our neighbourhood are being drawn along a current. We are caught in a gravitational river known as the Great Attractor. Visualise this not as a violent pull, but as a slow, majestic slide. Our Milky Way, along with thousands of other galaxies, is drifting lazily toward a mysterious focal point deep in the distance, a place obscured by the dust of our own stars. We call the region we reside in Laniakea, a beautiful Hawaiian word that means immeasurable heaven. Imagine yourself floating in this immeasurable heaven, part of a grand flock of galaxies, all migrating together through the dark. It is a journey that takes billions of years, a movement so grand and slow that it feels like stillness. There is a comfort in this collective drift, a sense that we are not aimless wanderers, but travellers with a destination, carried by the gentle, invisible current of gravity toward a gathering place we cannot yet see, joining a cosmic congregation that has been assembling since the dawn of time. As we drift along this river of galaxies, we notice that we're not just moving alongside others, but sometimes we move toward them. In the grand ballroom of the universe, galaxies engage in a slow-motion waltz. Look ahead into the deep future and visualize the approach of our neighbor, the Andromeda Galaxy. It is a spiral mirror of our own home, glowing with the light of 1 trillion stars. Over the next few eons, these two great islands of light will draw closer, not to collide in a crash of destruction, but to merge in a soft, ghostly embrace. Imagine the night sky of the future. The band of the Milky Way we know today will be joined by the swirling grandeur of Andromeda, filling the heavens with a double helix of starlight. Because the space between stars is so vast, they will not hit each other. They will pass through one another like mist passing through mist. The two galaxies will perform a gravitational dance, spiralling around a common centre, stretching long ribbons of stars into the void like streamers, until they finally settle into a single, massive elliptical galaxy. It is a marriage of lights, a unification that will create a night sky brighter and more complex than anything we have ever known, a testament to the fact that in this universe, separation is temporary and unity is the ultimate destiny. Drifting away from the crowded dance floor of the merging giants, we find ourselves in the deep, silent spaces between the galaxies. Here, in the profound blackness, we find the intergalactic stars. These are the true hermits of the cosmos, stars that have been ejected from their home galaxies and now wander the void alone. Picture a sun with no solar system, no planets, and no neighbours. It floats in a darkness so absolute that if you were to stand near it, the sky would be completely black, devoid of any other points of light. There is only the single, steady glow of the star itself. It might seem lonely, but reframe this solitude as absolute freedom. These stars are beholden to no orbit, restricted by no galactic arm. They are the silent observers of the deep, illuminating the empty spaces where nothing else dares to go. Imagine the view from such a star, uncluttered, vast, and pure. It is a place of infinite meditation, where a star can burn through its fuel in total peace, undisturbed by the chaotic interactions of a crowded cluster, a lighthouse keeper in the middle of an infinite ocean, shining just for the sake of shining. As we turn back toward the warmth of a solar system, we approach the outer boundary of our own home, a region that acts as a shell for everything we know. This is the Oort cloud. Before you reach the planets, you must pass through this spherical layer of ice and rock, which surrounds our sun like a massive bubble. Visualize this cloud not as a wall, but as a floating suspension of billions of sleeping comets. These are the ancient remnants of the solar system's birth, huge chunks of dirty ice and dust drifting in the dark, cold silence, light years from the sun. They are in a state of deep hibernation. They hover there, barely moving, waiting for a nudge of gravity to send them tumbling inward toward the warmth. Imagine floating among them. They are like jagged floating mountains, silent and grey, encrusted with the frost of deep space. This is the true edge of our world, a protective cocoon that marks the boundary between the domestic warmth of the sun and the wild interstellar winds. It is a place of waiting, where the potential for a brilliant tale and a journey across the sky sleeps within a block of ice, patient and still. Passing through the icy shell and moving closer to the heart of the system, we shift our senses to perceive something we usually ignore: the voice of the star itself. We see the sun as a source of light, but it is also a source of sound. The sun is not silent, it is ringing. Deep inside the fiery sphere, the movement of hot gas creates sound waves that bounce around the interior, causing the entire star to vibrate like a giant bell. This is a low rhythmic hum, a frequency far too deep for human ears to hear directly, but one that can be felt by the instruments of science. Imagine this sound translated into something you can perceive. It is a deep, resonant om, a bass note that vibrates through the very fabric of the solar system. It is a heartbeat, pulsing with a steady rhythm that has continued for billions of years. To listen to the sun is to hear the engine of life, a powerful, steady thrumming that underpins the existence of every planet orbiting it. It is a lullaby on a massive scale, a vibration of warmth and power that resonates through the vacuum, holding the tempo of our days. And if we could engage our sense of smell in this vacuum, we would find that the universe has a distinct perfume. We often think of space as sterile and odorless, but in the vast clouds of gas and dust near the centre of the galaxy, the chemistry is complex and aromatic. Astronauts returning from spacewalks have described the scent clinging to their suits, and scientists analysing the dust clouds have found a molecule called ethyl formate. This molecule is the same chemical that gives raspberries their flavour and rum its smell. Visualise floating through a nebula, surrounded by swirling pink and purple mists. If you could breathe in this ether, it would not smell of cold nothingness. It would smell sweet, metallic and charred, like a summer barbecue or a handful of berries crushed in a hot iron pan. It is a sensory surprise, a reminder that the universe is made of the same elements that create the pleasures of our lives. The cosmos is not just light and gravity, it is a chemistry of sensation, a vast kitchen where the ingredients of life are being mixed, smelling faintly of fruit and smoke in the deep, dark aisles of the galaxy. Leaving the sweet-smelling clouds, we travel to a place where there is almost nothing at all. We drift into the Bhuta's void. This is a massive sphere of emptiness, millions of light-years across. While most of the universe is cluttered with galaxies and filaments of matter, this region is a desert. If our galaxy were in the centre of the Bhuta's void, we would not have known other galaxies existed until the invention of the most powerful telescopes in the 1960s. The night sky would be completely black, save for our own stars. Imagine drifting in this great nothing. It is the quietest room in the universe. There is no gravitational turbulence here, no nearby neighbours to jostle against. It is a region of profound, uninterrupted calm. It is like the deep ocean far from land, where the water is glass smooth and the horizon stretches forever. In this void, the silence is amplified and the sense of space is absolute. It is a place for the universe to rest, a blank page in the book of creation, offering a pause in the dense narrative of stars, a deep breath of nothingness. Into this silence, occasionally a traveller arrives. We recall the object known as Oumuamua, a name that means a messenger from afar arriving first. It was the first object we ever saw that came from another solar system. Unlike the round planets or the jagged comets we know, this visitor was shaped strangely, long and thin, like a cigar or a flat disc. It did not orbit our sun, it merely passed through. Visualize this dark, reddish stone tumbling end over end through the vacuum. It moved with a silent, determined speed, diving toward the sun, turning, and then flying back out into the interstellar night. It was a ship that did not stop at the port. There is a melancholy beauty in its journey. It has been travelling for millions of years, passing star after star, never staying, always leaving. It is the ultimate nomad. Imagine it now, drifting away from us, fading into the dark, carrying the memory of our sun on its surface but bound for the unknown. It reminds us that our solar system is just a waypoint, a small campfire that travellers might glimpse as they pass by on their endless journey through the dark. From the fleeting visitor, we turn to the ancient resident. We drift toward a star known as Methuselah. This star is a relic, a survivor from the very dawn of time. It is so old that for a long time it appeared to be older than the universe itself, a paradox of light. This star has been burning since before the Milky Way settled into a spiral. It was there when the universe was small and hot. It was there when the first galaxies collided. It was there when the Earth was just a cloud of dust. Visualize this star not as a blazing fire, but as an old, wise eye watching the history of everything unfold. Its light is soft and steady, an amber glow that has endured through eons of chaos. To look at Methuselah is to look at a living memory of the beginning. It teaches us patience. It has outlived nebulas and supernovas, burning quietly, conserving its energy, a testament to the endurance of light against the encroaching dark. It stands as a guardian of time, holding the secrets of the early universe in its ancient flickering heart. Finally, we pull our perspective back, shrinking the ancient stars and the drifting voids until we see a familiar sight, but from a new angle. We see the pale blue dot. We look at Earth not from the ground, but from the edge of the solar system, as the Voyager probe once did. From this distance, our world is not a vast landscape of cities and oceans. It is a speck of dust, suspended in a sunbeam. It is a tiny, fragile pixel of blue light against the overwhelming black. Visualize that dot. On that speck, everyone you have ever loved, every history, every song, every dream is contained. It looks so peaceful from here. There are no borders visible, no noise, no conflict. There is only the unity of the sphere. It creates a feeling of profound protectiveness and connection. In the vast, cold, indifferent cosmos, that little dot is a warm sanctuary. It is the only home we have ever known, floating safely in the dark, a jewel that requires us to hold each other close. It reminds us that we are all crewmates on the same small vessel, drifting together through the beautiful, mysterious and endless ocean of the night. And as we hold that image of our fragile, floating home in our minds, we begin to understand a profound shift in perspective experienced by those few travellers who have physically left the atmosphere. This is known as the overview effect. Imagine drifting in the cupola of a space station, looking down at the slow, turning sphere of Earth. From this vantage point, the lines on the maps dissolve. There are no borders, no political divisions, and no walls visible from orbit. There is only the land, the water, and the thin, glowing line of the atmosphere protecting it all. Visualize the cognitive shift that happens in this silence. The astronaut does not see nations. They see a single, unified living organism. They see the dust storms of one continent feeding the rainforests of another. They see the clouds drifting freely across the oceans, ignoring the boundaries of kings and governments. This perspective washes away the petty conflicts of the ground, replacing them with a deep, overwhelming sense of kinship. To experience the overview effect is to realize that we're not separate passengers on different ships, but cells in the same body. It is a feeling of transcendent connection, a realization that the planet itself is a single, fragile sanctuary that demands our collective gentleness. Allow this feeling to settle in your chest, a sense of global unity, peaceful and undivided, as you float above the world in your dreams. Turning our gaze from the Earth back to the deep field of stars, we encounter a strange and beautiful truth about the nature of looking up. We are looking back. Because light takes time to travel through the vastness of space, the night sky is not a picture of the present. It is a photograph of the past. This is the concept of light as a time machine. Consider the moon. The moonlight washing over your room right now left the lunar surface 1.5 seconds ago. The light from the sun is 8 minutes old, but as we look deeper, we look further back in history. The light from the North Star left its source during the time of Shakespeare. The light from the Andromeda Galaxy began its journey when humans were just learning to make tools. Imagine the sky as a vast, glowing history book. When you look at the stars, you're not seeing them as they are. You're seeing them as they were. Some of those stars may have burned out millions of years ago, but their final message of light is still travelling to us. Ghost ships sailing across the dark ocean of time. It creates a feeling of eternal presence. Nothing is ever truly lost in the universe. Its image is simply travelling, preserved forever in the beam of light, allowing us to witness the memories of the cosmos as if they were happening right now. As this ancient light travels toward us, it does not always move in a straight line. It flows like water, bending around the heavy obstacles in its path. This is the phenomenon of gravitational lensing. Imagine a massive cluster of galaxies sitting between you and a distant star. The gravity of this cluster is so immense that it warps the fabric of space itself, curving it like a lens. Visualize the light from the distant star flowing toward this cluster. Instead of being blocked, the light follows the curve of space, bending around the galaxies and meeting your eye. It acts like a cosmic magnifying glass, allowing us to see things that are hidden behind the wall of galaxies. It stretches the distant light into beautiful glowing arcs and rings known as Einstein rings, perfect circles of light painted against the dark. It is a reminder that the universe is not rigid, it is fluid. Gravity can mold what we see, bending reality to reveal the hidden treasures of the deep. It feels like a magic trick on a grand scale, where the heaviest objects in existence gently guide the light of the furthest stars into our view, ensuring that even the most distant beacons are not hidden from our sight. If we were to take all this light, the ancient beams, the bent arcs, the glowing stars and the swirling galaxies, and blend them together to find the average colour of the universe, we might expect it to be black or a deep, cold blue. But the universe is full of warmth. The average colour of all the light in the cosmos has been calculated, and it is a soft, warm beige. It is whimsically called cosmic latte. Visualize the entire universe not as a cold void, but as a cup of warm, creamy milk. This is the hue of existence. It is the colour of old parchment, of sand on a quiet beach, of foam on a cappuccino. It suggests a softness to the reality we inhabit. We are not living in a harsh neon environment, but in a reality painted in shades of cream and off-white. Let this colour wash over your mind's eye. It is a neutral, calming tone, the colour of comfort. It implies that at its average, the universe is not hostile or sharp. It is mellow. It is a vast, cappuccino-coloured room where the lights are dimmed, inviting you to relax into the softness of the background, wrapped in the warm, latte-coloured blanket of existence. Drifting through this cream-coloured expanse, we encounter objects that defy the simple categories of star or planet. These are the brown dwarfs. They are often called failed stars, but let us think of them as the cozy stars. They are massive balls of gas, heavier than Jupiter, but not heavy enough to ignite the nuclear fire that powers a true sun. Because they do not burn with the fury of a star, they do not shine with blinding white light. Instead, visualize a world that glows with a deep magenta or violet hue. They are warm to the touch, radiating a gentle heat like a dying ember or a heated stone. If you were to orbit a brown dwarf, you would not need sunglasses. You would look out upon a world of swirling purple clouds and dark red storms. They are the middle children of the galaxy, bridging the gap between the gas giants and the burning suns. They represent a state of comfortable mediocrity, a place where one does not need to shine brilliantly to exist. They simply are, warm, dim, and enduring. They offer a sanctuary of low light, a dimly lit lounge in the galactic nightclub, where the vibe is slow, heavy, and deeply relaxing. To travel between these magenta worlds and the cream-coloured stars, we might not use roaring rockets or burning engines, we might simply sail. This is the concept of the solar sail. We know that light has no mass, yet it has momentum. When a photon hits a reflective surface, it gives it a tiny, tiny push. Imagine a spacecraft that looks like a giant silver kite, unfurling miles of ultra-thin mirrored foil in the silence of the vacuum. There is no noise, no vibration, no exhaust. There is only the silent pressure of the sunlight striking the sails. Like a ship on a calm ocean catching a gentle breeze, the solar sail catches the light. It accelerates slowly, gracefully, gaining speed with every passing second. Visualize this silent regatta of silver ships, gliding between the planets, pushed only by the beams of the stars. It is the ultimate form of peaceful travel, surrendering to the flow of energy that is already there, riding the light beams across the dark gulfs. It turns space travel into a leisurely cruise, a slow and shining drift through the archipelago of the stars. As our solar sail drifts past the outer giants of the solar system, we look deep into the atmosphere of Neptune and Uranus. We touched upon the diamond planet before, but here the phenomenon is meteorological. Deep within the blue, crushing atmospheres of these ice giants, it creates a weather pattern of unthinkable luxury. Diamond rain. Visualize the heart of Neptune. The pressure is intense, squeezing the carbon atoms in the methane clouds until they crystallize. They become diamonds, but they do not sit still. They fall. Imagine a rainstorm where the droplets are not water, but glittering uncut gems, raining down through the thick blue layers of the planet. They fall toward the core, sinking through the liquid mantle like stones in a pond. It is a hidden treasure chest, a secret storm of opulence that no human eye has ever seen. The sound of this rain would not be a splash, but a heavy rhythmic clinking as the diamonds descend into the depths. It paints a picture of a universe that is rich beyond measure, where the sky rains jewels into an endless, crushing ocean, a silent and glittering cycle hidden beneath the clouds of the blue giants. We watch the diamond rain fall, but we must remember that the planets themselves are moving. Our entire solar system, the Sun, the Earth, the diamond-raining giants, is on a grand journey. We are orbiting the centre of the Milky Way. This is the galactic year. It takes the Sun approximately 230 million Earth years to complete one single lap around the galaxy. Think of the scale of this clock. The last time our solar system was in this exact spot in the galaxy, dinosaurs were just beginning to walk the Earth. The continents on our planet were shaped completely differently. We are travellers on a massive, slow-moving carousel. We're currently passing through a region of space we haven't visited since the Triassic period. This motion is smooth and imperceptible to us, but it means we're never truly in the same place twice. We're always exploring new sectors of the void carried by the sun. It gives a sense of deep time, a slow, rhythmic breathing of the cosmos where a single year spans the rise and fall of entire species. We are just passengers on the current lap, enjoying the view as the great wheel turns slowly in the dark. On this journey, we carry a companion that has been watching us for eons, the moon. But the moon is not static. It is slowly, very slowly, waving goodbye. This is the phenomenon of lunar recession. Due to the tidal friction, the energy transferred as the moon drags our oceans back and forth, the moon is drifting away from Earth at a rate of about 1.5 inches per year. Visualize this drift not as a rejection, but as a slow expansion of personal space. In the distant past, the moon hung huge and menacing in the sky, orbiting much closer. Now, it is stepping back, giving the Earth room to breathe. Millions of years from now, it will be smaller in the sky, a more distant friend. This drift is the result of a cosmic dance, a transfer of energy that slows the Earth's spin and pushes the moon outward. It is a gentle release, a long, slow farewell that takes billions of years to complete. It reminds us that relationships in the universe are dynamic, shifting almost imperceptibly over time, moving toward a new balance, a new distance, in the silent waltz of gravity. Finally, we consider the stage upon which all this drifting, raining and sailing happens. We used to think the universe was static or perhaps slowing down, but we discovered that the universe is doing something like breathing in deeply, it is expanding, and a mysterious force called dark energy is pushing it outward. Imagine the universe as a balloon that is slowly being inflated. The galaxies are not moving away from each other through space. The space between them is stretching. This is not a violent explosion, but a gentle, pervasive opening up. Dark energy is the breath of the cosmos. It accounts for nearly 70% of the universe, a silent, invisible energy that ensures the void keeps growing. Visualize this expansion as a creation of more peace, more room, more silence. The universe is making more space for itself. It is loosening the knots of gravity, allowing everything to drift further apart to find its own corner of the dark. It is a relaxing thought that the nature of reality is to expand, to let go, to widen the distance between things until everything has the perfect amount of solitude, stretching out forever into an endless, comfortable calm. And as the universe expands, breathing out into that endless, comfortable calm, it leaves behind a ghost of its fiery beginning. This is the cosmic microwave background. Imagine tuning an old television set to a dead channel, seeing the static snow flickering in black and white. A portion of that static is not interference from Earth, but the oldest light in existence, stretched and cooled by the expansion of space until it became a microwave hum. Visualize this radiation not as noise, but as a fossil. It is the afterglow of the Big Bang, a snapshot of the universe when it was a mere infant, just 380,000 years old. Before that moment, the cosmos was a dense, foggy soup of particles, opaque and impenetrable. But as it cooled, the fog lifted, and light was free to travel for the first time. That first flash of freedom is still travelling today, washing over you every second of every day. It means that the space around you is not empty. It is filled with a bath of ancient photons. To lie in bed is to lie in the gentle, invisible warmth of the creation event itself. It is an omnipresent blanket of history, a soft background hiss that serves as the base layer of reality, reminding us that we are still glowing with the heat of our origin. From the ubiquitous light of the beginning, we drift toward the ultimate shadow, to the edge of a black hole known as the event horizon. We often think of black holes as monsters, but in the slow narrative of the cosmos, they are points of profound stillness. The event horizon is the boundary of no return, but it is also a place where the story freezes. Imagine falling toward this horizon. As you approach the edge, the light from the universe behind you gets concentrated into a brighter and brighter ring. But to an observer watching you from far away, you never actually fall in. Because of the intense gravity warping the light, your image would appear to slow down as you reach the brink. You would fade, becoming redder and dimmer, eventually freezing there like a photograph stuck in time. In a way, the event horizon is a cosmic gallery, preserving the image of everything that has ever touched it. It is not a violent crushing, but a suspension, a place where the chaotic motion of the universe is halted into a permanent fading silhouette, a quiet monument to the things that have left our reality. This freezing of the image brings us to the warping of time itself, a phenomenon known as time dilation. Gravity does not just pull on matter, it pulls on the seconds and the hours. The heavier the object, the slower time moves near it. Visualize a planet orbiting close to a supermassive black hole. On this world, the gravity is a heavy hand resting on the face of a clock. For every hour that passes on this planet, 7 years might pass in the space far away. This creates a sensation of deep, extended mindfulness. A single afternoon here is a generation elsewhere. Imagine resting in this heavy gravity. It is the ultimate pause button. The frantic pace of the galaxy, the spinning of stars, the rise and fall of civilizations, all of that is fast-forwarded outside while you remain in a slow, protected bubble. It suggests that time is not a rigid ruler, but a flowing river that pools and eddies. You can find the quiet pools where the water hardly moves, finding a sanctuary where a single moment is stretched out into an eternity of rest. Leaving the heavy, slow zones of the deep gravity wells, we fly toward a spectacle of shadow and light to a planet known as J147b, or more affectionately, Super Saturn. We know the rings of Saturn are beautiful, but imagine a ring system 200 times larger. If this planet replaced Saturn in our own sky, its rings would be more prominent than the full moon. But let us drift to the planet itself. Imagine living on a moon orbiting this giant. The rings are so vast that they block out the sun for weeks at a time. Visualize the eclipse season. It is not a sudden darkness, but a beautiful shuttered effect. As the sun passes behind the countless bands of dust and ice, the light on the world below flickers and dims, painting the landscape in shifting bars of shadow and twilight. It would be like living inside a grand cathedral with slat blinds covering the windows, the light constantly changing, filtered through the icy halo of the giant. It creates a rhythm of long, cool shadows, a natural dimming of the world that invites a long winter hibernation under the canopy of the rings. From the icy dust of the rings, we turn our thoughts to the gold on your finger or the silver in your pocket. We often think of these metals as coming from the Earth, but the Earth is merely a vault. The origin of gold is a violent, beautiful event called a kilonova. Start with two neutron stars, the dead, ultra-dense cores of ancient suns, spiraling toward each other in the dark. When they finally collide, they do not just explode, they shatter the structure of atoms. In that flash of heat and pressure, the universe forges the heavy elements: gold, platinum, silver. Visualize a cloud of expanding debris that is not made of smoke, but of molten gold, drifting through the galaxy like a glittering mist. This mist eventually mixes with the clouds that form new solar systems. The gold in your jewellery was once part of this star stuff, travelling across light years to eventually be mined and moulded. To wear gold is to wear the wreckage of stars. It is a heavy, cool reminder that we are adorned with the debris of cosmic collisions, transformed by time into tokens of love and beauty. As we trace the path of that gold dust, we realise that our own solar system is currently moving through a cloud of its own. We are traversing a region of space known as the local fluff. It sounds soft, and in a cosmic sense it is. It is a wisp of interstellar cloud, about 30 light-years across, made of hydrogen and helium. Visualize our sun and all its planets like a ship sailing through a patch of light fog. We have been moving through this cloud for tens of thousands of years. It is extremely tenuous. The fog is thinner than the best vacuum we can create in a laboratory. Yet, it is there. It is a gentle reminder that space is not empty. We're not flying through a void, we're flying through a medium, a weather system of the galaxy. The magnetic field of our sun holds this cloud at bay, creating a bubble around us. Imagine standing on the deck of the solar system, feeling the faint, invisible breeze of the local fluff brushing against our protective shield. A subtle interstellar wind that whispers against the windows of our world as we cruise through the spiral arm. From the invisible clouds of space, we descend to a hypothetical landscape that challenges our perception of nature. When we look for life, we look for the green of chlorophyll. But early Earth may have looked very different. This is the purple Earth hypothesis. Before green plants conquered the world, ancient microbes might have used a molecule called retinol to harvest sunlight. Retinol reflects red and blue light, absorbing the green. This would mean that if you stood on the shore of the ancient Earth, you would not see green forests or green algae. You would see a world of violet. Visualize vast mats of floating microbes covering the oceans, turning the water into a deep, rich plum colour. Imagine the land covered in lavender mosses and purple lichens. The sunlight hitting this world would create a landscape of royal hues, a planet wrapped in velvet. It softens the image of our history, painting the primeval past not in the harsh colours of rock and fire, but in the soothing, cool tones of amethyst and indigo, a royal garden growing slowly under a younger sun. We leave the purple oceans of the past and travel to the quietest place in our current neighbourhood, the far side of the moon. We often call it the dark side, but it receives plenty of sunlight. its true nature is silence. Because the moon is tidally locked, this face is forever turned away from Earth. This means that the bulk of the moon acts as a massive shield, blocking the radio noise of our civilization. On Earth, the air is filled with the chatter of TV broadcasts, cell phones, and GPS signals. But on the far side, there is a profound radio shadow. Visualize standing in a crater on this hidden face. Above you, the sky is packed with stars, clearer than anywhere on Earth because there is no atmosphere to scatter the light. And in your ears, or your radio telescope, there is absolute stillness. It is the only place near us where the noise of humanity is completely cut off. It is a sanctuary of silence, a place where the universe can be heard without the interference of our own voices, a quiet zone of deep, cratered peace. In that silence, we might listen for the sounds of other worlds, and if we tuned our ears to Jupiter, we would hear a choir. The giant planet has a magnetic field so powerful it creates its own auroras, far larger than Earth's. But these lights also create radio waves. If you shifted these waves into the range of human hearing, Jupiter sounds like it is singing. It is not a melody, but a series of descending tones, clicks, and whistles, often described as chorus waves, because they sound like a flock of birds chirping at dawn. Imagine floating in the upper atmosphere of the gas giant, watching the southern lights dance in curtains of electric blue and ultraviolet the size of continents. And accompanying this visual grandeur is the sound of the planet itself, a strange metallic bird song echoing through the magnetic lines. It gives the planet a voice, transforming the frightening giant into a singing creature, humming its strange electromagnetic lullaby into the dark. Finally, we consider the ultimate fate of a star like our own, a transformation that is as gentle as it is beautiful. This is the planetary nebula. When a medium-sized star nears the end of its life, it does not explode violently like the giants. Instead, it sighs. It gently puffs its outer layers of gas into space, shedding its skin like a serpent. These layers drift outward, glowing in the ultraviolet light of the dying core. They form intricate symmetrical shapes, hourglasses, rings, and butterfly wings, painted in glowing reds, greens, and blues. Visualize this slow expansion. It is a peaceful unspooling, a letting go of the material that the star held onto for billions of years. The star is not dying in agony, it is blooming. It is transforming from a spherical fire into a vast, colourful flower of gas. This nebula will drift for tens of thousands of years, enriching the galaxy with the elements needed for new life. It is a comforting end, a reminder that death in the cosmos is simply a change of shape, a release of energy that creates one of the most beautiful sights in the heavens, a final colourful exhale before the long rest. From that gentle exhale of the dying star, where the gas blooms like a flower in the silence, we allow the gravitational current to pull us inward, past the drifting petals of the nebula toward the very heart of our galaxy. We are travelling to the centre of the City of Stars, to the object known as Sagittarius A. While we often fear the concept of a supermassive black hole, viewing it as a devourer, let us reframe it tonight as the Great Anchor. This is the pivot point of the Milky Way, the heavy, silent hub around which every star we have ever seen is turning. Visualize a maypole, or the centre of a grand carousel. 4 million times the mass of our Sun is concentrated here, packed into a space no larger than a single solar system. It is not a chaotic drain, but a stabilizing pin. Without its immense gravity, the beautiful spiral arms of our galaxy might unravel and drift apart into the void. Imagine the stars near the centre. They do not drift lazily. They whip around this dark object at incredible speeds, dancing a frantic, energetic ballet. But the whole itself sits in profound silence, wrapped in a cloak of swirling gas. It is the steady hand holding the strings of the galaxy, the invisible monarch sitting on a throne of gravity, ensuring that the great wheel keeps turning, holding us all in our orbits with a grip that has not faltered for billions of years. Drifting outward from the dense, frantic centre, we ascend above the flat plane of the galactic disk, rising into the halo that surrounds the galaxy like a faint mist. Here, we find the globular clusters. If the galactic disk is the busy downtown, these are the ancient walled cities on the hill. These are tight spherical balls of stars, some containing hundreds of thousands of suns packed into a tiny area. Visualize standing on a planet inside a globular cluster. The night sky would not be dark. It would be ablaze with thousands of stars so close and so bright that they would cast shadows on the ground. There is no true night here, only a deepening of the twilight, a perpetual glow of diamond white light. These clusters are the oldest inhabitants of the galaxy, the first societies of stars to form. They are the keepers of memory, drifting quietly in the halo, watching the spiral arms turn below them. To float within one is to be immersed in a bath of starlight, surrounded by a community of ancient suns that have been huddled together for warmth since the universe was young. It is a feeling of ultimate belonging, a crowded, cozy neighbourhood where no star is ever truly alone. As we contemplate the age of these ancient clusters, we let our minds wander back through the timeline of the cosmos, back before the Earth, back before the Sun, to a time known as the habitable epoch. We usually think of the universe as a freezing place that requires a warm star to make life possible. But there was a brief, magical summer in the history of the cosmos, about 10 to 17 million years after the Big Bang. At this time, the background heat of the explosion had cooled down, but it had not yet frozen. The entire universe, every inch of empty space, was a comfortable room temperature, perhaps 75 degrees Fahrenheit or 24 degrees Celsius. Imagine a universe where you could float in the void without a spacesuit and feel not the bite of the cold, but a gentle tropical warmth against your skin. In this epoch, water could remain liquid even without a sun. It is a beautiful thought, a cosmic summer where life could theoretically have started anywhere, in the dark, warm bath of the early vacuum. It suggests that for a few million years, the universe was not a harsh frontier, but a womb, warm and inviting, a vast incubating ocean waiting for the first seeds of reality to wake up. From the memory of that universal warmth, we travel forward to the present, seeking the worlds that have perfected the art of comfort. We call Earth habitable, but scientists have identified a class of planets that might be better than Earth. These are these super-habitable worlds. They are not just capable of supporting life, they are designed to nurture it. Visualize a planet orbiting a K-type star, a sun slightly cooler and oranger than our own. These stars burn slowly, living for tens of billions of years, giving life an eternity to evolve. On this super-habitable world, the planet is slightly larger than Earth, with more surface area for oceans and forests. The atmosphere is thicker, darker and richer in moisture, creating a greenhouse effect that keeps the world in a state of eternal humid spring. Imagine a landscape where there are no deserts and no ice caps, only endless archipelagos of scattered islands, shallow seas and sprawling rainforests. It is a biological paradise, a garden that never faces a winter, bathed in the soft golden light of an orange sun. It is a world that wraps its life in a blanket of air and water, a hyper-fertile sanctuary where nature is allowed to run wild and free. In contrast to these heavy, lush worlds, we drift toward a class of planets that defy our understanding of density. These are the superpuffs, sometimes called cotton candy planets. We have found worlds like Kepler 51b that are as large as Jupiter, but have less mass than Earth. They are composed almost entirely of gas and atmosphere, puffed up by the heat of their stars. Imagine a world that is so light it could float in a bathtub of water if such a tub existed. These planets are pastel-coloured, often pink or soft yellow, shrouded in thick, hazy layers of clouds that stretch out for thousands of miles. To descend into one would be to fall through endless layers of mist, a soft, pillowy descent that never hits a hard surface. They are the marshmallows of the galaxy, ethereal and ghostly. They remind us that not all worlds are made of heavy rock and iron. Some are made of vapor and light, existing as fragile bubbles in the void, drifting like dandelion seeds, delicate and soft against the harsh backdrop of the stars. We leave the soft embrace of the cotton candy worlds and steel ourselves for a specific beauty that is sharp and crystalline. We travel to a deep blue world known as HD 89733b. From space, it looks like a tranquil azure marble, much like Earth. But this blue does not come from water. It comes from silicate particles in the atmosphere, essentially glass. The weather here is a spectacle of violent elegance. The winds blow at 5,000 miles per hour, creating a roaring, continuous storm. And in this storm, it rains. But it rains molten glass. Because of the wind, the rain does not fall down. It falls sideways. Visualize this scene not with fear, but with awe. Imagine a storm of glittering sapphires, a horizontal blizzard of shimmering crystals whipping through the air. The light from the star catches the glass rain, turning the atmosphere into a kaleidoscope of sparkling blue light. It is a world of terrifying beauty, a jewel that protects itself with a storm of diamonds, reminding us that beauty in the universe often comes with a wild, untamable edge. Pulling back from the roar of the glass storm, we retreat to the safety of our own cosmic bubble. Our entire solar system is encased in a vast magnetic cocoon known as the heliosphere. As the sun moves through the galaxy, it blows a constant wind of charged particles outward. This solar wind pushes against the gas and dust of the interstellar medium, creating a giant bubble that shields us. Visualize this bubble as a ship moving through the ocean. At the front, there is a bow shock, a wave where the interstellar matter piles up against our shield. Inside the bubble, we're protected from the harshest radiation of the galaxy. We are living in a cleared-out sanctuary, a pocket of calm carved out by the power of our sun. Imagine the heliosphere as the walls of our house, and the interstellar space outside as the cold, windy night. The sun is the fireplace that not only warms us, but also pushes back the draft, creating a sphere of influence that holds the chaos of the galaxy at arm's length, keeping our family of planets safe in its warm magnetic embrace. Yet, the walls of this house are not entirely solid. Occasionally, tiny, high-energy messengers punch through the roof. These are cosmic rays. They are protons and atomic nuclei, travelling at nearly the speed of light, originating from supernovas and exploding stars far, far away. They rain down on Earth constantly, mostly absorbed by our atmosphere. But for astronauts closing their eyes in space, these rays create a personal light show. They strike the optic nerve directly, creating flashes of white light in the darkness of a closed eyelid. Visualize this, a tiny particle that was born in the explosion of a star 1,000 light-years away, travelling across the void for millennia, only to end its journey as a spark of light in the mind of a sleeping traveller. It is a direct, physical connection between the human body and the deep history of the cosmos. It reminds us that we are permeable, that the universe is constantly touching us, sending little sparks of energy to say hello, invisible fingers of starlight tapping gently on the roof of the world. We turn our gaze from the invisible rays to the most visible companion in our sky, the moon. But let us dream of its origin, a story of destruction becoming creation. This is the Theia impact hypothesis. Billions of years ago, Earth was alone. Then, a protoplanet the size of Mars named Theia drifted into our path. The collision was cataclysmic, a merging of worlds that turned the Earth into a molten ball of fire. But from this wound, debris was cast out into orbit. A ring of hot rock encircled our world, eventually coalescing, cooling, and gathering together to form the moon. Visualize this healing process. The debris that was once a scar became a shield. The moon is made of us. It is a piece of Earth that was cast away only to return as a guardian, It stabilizes our tilt, it pulls our tides. It is a beautiful metaphor for how trauma can be transformed into stability. The partner that watches over our sleep tonight was born from fire, a testament that something broken can be reassembled into a silver lantern that lights the dark. And now, look at that moon on a night when it is just a thin crescent. If you look closely at the dark part of the moon, you will see it is not completely black. It glows with a faint ghostly grey light. This is Earthshine. Visualize the geometry of this light. Sunlight hits the Earth, reflects off our white clouds and blue oceans, travels to the moon, bounces off the moon's dark surface, and travels back to your eye. When you see the old moon in the new moon's arms, you are seeing the reflection of yourself. You are seeing the light of Earth acting as a lamp for the moon. It is a loop of connection, a conversation of light between the mother planet and its child. It creates a feeling of intimacy in the solar system, a reminder that we illuminate each other. Even when the moon is dark, the Earth is there to hold a candle for it, casting a soft ash-coloured glow that whispers across the craters, ensuring that the darkness is never absolute. And just as the Earth casts its gentle, ghostly light upon the moon, there is another world nearby that reflects the sun with such intensity that it has captivated dreamers since the first eyes looked up. We drift now toward the morning star, the planet Venus. We often speak of it as Earth's twin, but it is a twin that has chosen a radically different path. While Earth spins rapidly, greeting a new day every 24 hours, Venus is a creature of profound, almost impossible slowness. Visualize the rotation of this shrouded world. It turns against the grain of the rest of the solar system, spinning backward in a retrograde motion. This means that if you could stand on its surface beneath the thick, crushing blanket of golden clouds, you would see the sun rise in the west and set in the east. But you would have to be very patient. Venus spins so slowly that a single day on its surface lasts longer than its entire year. Imagine that. A world where the sun hangs in the sky for months at a time. A slow-motion afternoon that refuses to end. It suggests a pace of life that is unhurried, a planetary refusal to rush. It is a world that savours its journey around the sun, taking its time to turn its face, reminding us that there is no cosmic law that demands speed. It is perfectly acceptable to move at your own pace, even if it means the day lasts forever, spinning gently in the opposite direction of the crowd. Leaving the slow, golden thicket of Venus, we travel to the outer reaches of the solar family, to a giant that has decided to rest on its side. This is Uranus, the ice giant. While other planets spin like tops, upright and alert, Uranus rolls through its orbit like a ball. Its axis is tilted 98 degrees, likely knocked over by a massive collision in the ancient past. Visualize the seasons on such a world. Because of this extreme tilt, the north pole of Uranus points directly at the sun for half of its orbit. This means that for 42 Earth years the pole is bathed in continuous pale sunlight. It is a summer that spans a lifetime, and then, as the planet continues its long roll around the star, that pole turns away, plunging into 42 years of continuous darkness. Imagine a winter night that lasts for 4 decades. The atmosphere here is a calm, aquamarine blue, made of methane and ice. It is a sleepy cyan marble, rolling silently through the dark. To look at Uranus is to see a world that is essentially lying down, drifting in a permanent state of repose. It teaches us about the long cycles of rest, of seasons that stretch out beyond the human scale, offering a cool, blue sanctuary where time is measured not in hours but in generations of light and dark. From the rolling giant we drift inward to the kingdom of Saturn again, but this time we do not look at the rings, we look at what makes them. We find a small icy moon named Enceladus. It is a brilliant white sphere, the most reflective object in the solar system, covered in fresh, clean snow. But this moon is not just a passive rock, it is an artist. On the southern pole of Enceladus, there are deep fissures in the ice known as tiger stripes. From these cracks, great geysers of salt water and ice crystals erupt, shooting miles into the black sky. Visualize these fountains of mist glittering in the sunlight like cosmic sprinklers. Because the moon's gravity is so low, this spray does not all fall back down. It escapes. It drifts out into orbit around Saturn. As Enceladus circles the planet, it leaves a trail of this ice dust behind it, painting a perfect ethereal circle known as the E-ring. It is a moon that is constantly creating its own path, snowing upward to build a monument of soft ice around its parent planet. It brings a sense of softness to the vacuum, a place where the geology is active and generous, misting the void with the breath of a hidden ocean. As we watch the ice crystals drift, we look past them, deeper into the galaxy, to stars that seem to be breathing. These are the Cepheid variables. Most stars shine with a steady, constant light, but these are different. They swell and shrink, brightening and dimming in a regular rhythmic cycle. Visualize a massive star, thousands of times brighter than the sun, physically expanding like a filling lung. As it grows larger, it cools and changes colour. As it shrinks, it heats up and brightens. This is the heartbeat of the cosmos. Astronomers use this pulse to measure the size of the universe, listening to the rhythm of the light. Imagine the galaxy filled with these lighthouses pulsing in the dark. It makes the universe feel like a living organism, filled with respiration. It is not a static painting, but a dynamic body, with stars that inhale and exhale light, keeping time across the millions of light years, a steady, comforting metronome that beats beneath the silence of the void. Following the rhythm of these stars, we begin to notice that the galaxy is not just a collection of points, but a tapestry of flowing ribbons. These are the stellar streams. When a small dwarf galaxy or a star cluster wanders too close to the Milky Way, our gravity gently pulls it apart. It unspools the cluster like a ball of yarn. Visualize a river of stars, thousands of light years long, wrapping around the galaxy in a beautiful arcing stream. The stars in this stream all move together, sharing the same speed and direction, a memory of the family they once belonged to. We are currently identifying dozens of these ghost rivers flowing through our night sky, invisible to the naked eye but clear to our data. It is a beautiful image of continuity. Even when a structure is pulled apart, the components stay together, flowing in formation through the dark. It suggests that connections are not easily broken. They simply change shape, transforming from a tight cluster into a long, elegant ribbon that winds its way through the history of the galaxy. Drifting through these ribbons, we encounter a patch of the sky that seems devoid of stars entirely. To the indigenous astronomers of the Southern Hemisphere, this is not emptiness, but an object in itself. It is the Coalsack Nebula. Against the bright, glittering backdrop of the Milky Way, there sits a dark, silhouetted patch, a cloud of dust so thick it blocks the starlight behind it. Visualize this not as a void, but as a shadow. It looks like a thumbprint on the window of the universe. In Australian Aboriginal astronomy, this dark shape is the head of the emu in the sky. It reminds us that darkness has a shape, a presence. It is a cloud of cold potential, a reservoir of raw material waiting to collapse into new stars. There is a deep comfort in this darkness. It is a curtain drawn for privacy, a patch of velvet silence amidst the noise of the stars. It is a place where the universe is resting its eyes, a cool, dark pillow of dust that invites us to look not just at the lights, but at the spaces between them. Passing through the dark dust, we realize that we are being washed over by a rain that we cannot feel. These are neutrinos, the ghost particles of the universe. Born in the heart of the sun and in the explosions of supernovas, these tiny particles travel at nearly the speed of light and interact with almost nothing. Visualize them streaming through the cosmos like a silent, invisible downpour. Right now, trillions of them are passing through your body, through your bed, through the Earth itself, and continuing out the other side without slowing down. To a neutrino, a planet is as transparent as a pane of glass. They are the ultimate travelers, carrying information from the center of stars directly to us, untouched by the journey. It is a feeling of being permeable, of being part of a flow. You are not a barrier to the universe, you are a medium. The cosmos flows through you as easily as wind through a screen door, connecting you to the nuclear fires of the deep sky in a bond that is constant, harmless, and intimate. We follow the path of these particles to the end of a star's life, to a quiet, crystal future. We spoke of the diamond planet, but now consider the white dwarf. When a sun like ours finishes its red giant phase, it sheds its outer layers and leaves behind its core. This core is incredibly dense, a glowing ember the size of Earth but with the mass of a sun. As it sits in the cold vacuum, it creates a structure of incredible order. The carbon and oxygen atoms, squeezed by gravity, begin to settle into a crystalline lattice. Essentially, the star turns into a diamond. Visualize this glowing jewel slowly cooling over billions of years. It is no longer burning fuel, it is simply radiating its stored heat, fading from blue to white to yellow to red. It is a retirement home for stars, a place of stability and solidity. It creates an image of the universe as a jewelry box, filling up slowly with these cooling, crystallized remnants, monuments to the light that once was, sitting patiently in the dark. And what happens when that jewel finally loses the last of its heat? We must imagine a theoretical object, one that does not exist yet because the universe is not old enough to have created one. This is the black dwarf. Visualize the white dwarf after trillions of years have passed. It has radiated away all its warmth. It no longer glows. It becomes a perfect black crystal sphere, invisible against the darkness of space. It continues to float, retaining its mass, holding its planets in orbit, but it does so in total darkness. It is the ultimate state of peace for a star. The work of shining is done, the fusion is over, the heat is gone. It is simply mass, existing in the quiet. It is a comforting thought for the far, far future, that eventually everything gets to rest. Even the stars are allowed to turn off the lights and sleep, drifting as silent, dark guardians in the eternal night. Finally, we let our minds expand to encompass the direction of all these things, the cooling stars, the expanding voids, the drifting galaxies. We touch upon the concept of entropy, often described as disorder. Let us reframe it tonight as the relaxation of the universe. Thermodynamics tells us that energy tends to spread out. Heat moves from a hot cup of tea into the cool air of the room until everything is the same temperature. The universe is doing the same thing. It is slowly, meticulously untying every knot of energy. It is smoothing out the rough edges, spreading the warmth until there are no more hot spots and no more cold spots, just a gentle, uniform equilibrium. Visualize this as the universe getting comfortable. It is unclenching its fists. It is letting go of the tension of gravity and heat. It is a drift toward a state of perfect stillness, where nothing changes because nothing needs to change. It is the ultimate goal of all physics, to reach a place of total balance, a vast calm ocean where the water is glass smooth and the journey of energy comes to a beautiful quiet halt. And if we accept this drift toward equilibrium, this settling of the cosmic waters, we might open our minds to the possibility that this silence is not a permanent end, but merely a pause in a much grander rhythm. We turn our thoughts to the concept of the cyclic universe, or the big bounce. Just as your chest rises and falls with every breath, and just as the tide retreats only to return, the universe itself may be caught in an infinite loop of expansion and contraction. Visualize the cosmos not as a line with a beginning and an end, but as a lung. Right now we're in the great exhalation. The galaxies are flying apart, the space is stretching, and the energy is thinning out. But in the incredibly distant future, gravity might gently assert its dominance again. Imagine the expansion slowing down, coming to a soft, weightless halt, like a ball thrown into the air reaching the very peak of its arc. Then, slowly, Gracefully, the motion reverses. The galaxies begin to drift back together, the voids shrink, and the universe warms up again. It condenses back into a single point of pure potential, only to bounce back out in a new Big Bang, a new morning. This idea transforms the history of everything into a heartbeat. We are simply living in one beat of an eternal heart, a rhythmic pulse that has no beginning and no end, rocking reality in a cradle of infinite rebirth. As we breathe in that rhythm, we let our focus narrow from the whole universe down to a specific family of stars drifting together through the dark. We have spoken of the ancient tight-knit globular clusters, but now we observe the open clusters. These are the stellar nurseries that have just opened their doors. The most famous of these is the Pleiades, the Seven Sisters, a glittering jewel box of blue light in the winter sky. Visualize these stars not as old hermits but as young siblings. They were born from the same cloud of gas, condensing at the same time, and now they're travelling together through the vacuum. But unlike the tight ancient clusters, the bond here is loose. They are slowly drifting apart. Imagine a group of friends walking through a meadow, gradually widening the distance between them as they explore, yet still moving in the same direction. The space between them is filled with wisps of blue reflection nebulae, faint, ghostly clouds that catch the starlight like smoke in a spotlight. To float inside the Pleiades is to be surrounded by the vibrant, energetic blue of youth, a cool, misty garden of stars that are slowly, gently saying goodbye to one another, destined to eventually scatter and seed the galaxy with their light. While those siblings drift apart on the horizontal plane, we must remember that the path of our own sun is not a straight line. We are riding a wave. This is the galactic oscillation. As the solar system orbits the centre of the Milky Way, it does not stay perfectly flat in the disk. It bobs up and down, like a horse on a carousel or a boat on a gentle swell. Visualize the galactic plane as a flat sheet of light. Our sun rises above this sheet, climbs to a peak, and then is pulled back down by gravity, diving through the disk to the bottom and rising again. This entire cycle takes millions of years. We're currently near the central plane, passing through the thickest part of the galactic stew. This motion means that our view of the universe is constantly changing. We are surfers on a slow-motion wave of gravity. It creates a soothing, rhythmic motion to our existence. We are not just spinning, we are rocking. The galaxy is cradling us, lifting us up to look into the void, then pulling us down to nestle among the dust clouds, a perpetual lullaby of motion that spans the eons. As we dip through the galactic plane, we encounter worlds with weather more intense and heavy than our minds can easily grasp. We drift to the brown dwarfs again, specifically to the phenomenon of iron rain. On these worlds, the atmosphere is not made of nitrogen or oxygen, but of vaporized metal and silicates. Visualize a sky that is heavy, dark, and swirling with clouds of molten iron. The temperature is hot enough to melt metal, but cool enough for it to condense into droplets. Imagine standing on a high ridge, if you could withstand the heat, and watching a storm roll in. The clouds would glow with a dull, red inner light. The rain that falls is not water, it is liquid steel, heavy glowing droplets plummeting into a dark metallic ocean below. The sound would be a deep, resonant drumming, a heavy, industrial rhythm. It is a world of weight and solidity, where the very air is made of the things we build bridges with. It reminds us of the sheer diversity of the cosmos, that somewhere in the dark there are storms of liquid metal washing over a world of eternal heavy twilight. Leaving the heavy rains, we travel to a place where the universe seems to have been bruised. We look toward the constellation Eridanus, to a mysterious anomaly known as the CMB cold spot. When we map the heat of the early universe, everything is a uniform, warm glow, except for this one vast region. It is significantly colder and emptier than it should be. Visualize this spot not as a hole, but as a window. Some theories suggest this might be a super void, a massive bubble of emptiness billions of light years across, where galaxies are exceptionally rare. Others whisper a more fantastical possibility, that this is a bruise caused by a collision with another universe entirely. Imagine our universe as a soap bubble floating in a foam of other bubbles. The cold spot could be the place where another bubble gently kissed ours, leaving a cool imprint on the skin of our reality. It creates a sense of the outside. It suggests that our universe might not be all there is, that there is a vast multiverse ocean beyond our walls, and we have just felt the faintest touch of a neighbour against the glass of our sky. From the potential touch of other universes, we return to the structural wonders of our own. We turn our attention to the intense beams of light known as blazars. We know that supermassive black holes can shoot jets of particles into space. When one of these jets happens to be pointing directly at Earth, we call it a blazar. Visualize looking down the barrel of a lighthouse beam that is millions of light years long. The light is blindingly bright, shifting and shimmering across the spectrum. But do not feel threatened. Feel connected. This beam has travelled across the vastness of the cosmos specifically to reach us. It acts like a fibre optic cable, connecting our tiny corner of space to the immense power of a distant galactic core. It is a direct line of sight to the engines of the universe. To see a blazar is to stare into the eye of the deep, a brilliant, unblinking gaze that traverses the void, reminding us that even across the unimaginable distances, there are threads of light that bind us to the furthest reaches of reality. We let the brightness of the blazar fade into a softer, glowing shape. We drift to a theoretical planetary object that exists only in the aftermath of a great embrace. This is a synestia. When two large planets collide with high energy, they don't just break, they vaporize. They spin so fast that they flatten out, transforming into a massive donut-shaped cloud of rock vapor. Visualize a glowing torus, a ring of molten rock and gas turning in the dark. It has no surface, no solid ground. It is a planet that has become a cloud. In the center, the seed of a new world is gathering, but for now, it is a structure of pure potential. It looks like a red-hot iris, a burning eye in the sky. Over time, this vapor will cool and rain down to form a new single planet, perhaps with a moon born from the outer edges. It is a state of metamorphosis. It teaches us that destruction is often just a phase of creation. The chaos of the collision melts away the old forms to create a new swirling shape of unity, a molten womb from which a new world will eventually cool and harden. From the fire of the synestia, we seek a place of stability and companionship. We travel to the orbit of Jupiter to find the Trojan asteroids. These are not random rocks, they are herds. They reside in the stable Lagrange points ahead of and behind the giant planet, trapped in a gravitational safe harbour. Visualize these asteroids as a flock of birds or a caravan of travellers that have decided to follow the king. They are locked in a permanent formation, always keeping the same distance from Jupiter, orbiting the Sun in lockstep. There are thousands of them, silent and dark, ancient remnants of the solar system's formation. They are the loyal guards of the giant. There is a sense of camaraderie here. They are not wandering alone. They are travelling in a pack held together by the invisible valleys of gravity. It paints a picture of the solar system not as a collection of solitary objects, but as a procession, a grand parade where the planets are accompanied by entourages of silent stones, moving together through the ages. As we watch this procession move, we begin to doubt our own eyes, for the universe is full of illusions. One of the most mind-bending is superluminal motion. Sometimes when we watch jets of gas ejected from a black hole, they appear to be moving faster than the speed of light, breaking the ultimate speed limit of the cosmos. But this is a trick of perspective. Visualize a jet of light moving towards you at nearly the speed of light. Because the light it emits later has less distance to travel to reach you, the signals pile up, arriving almost simultaneously. It creates the illusion of impossible speed. It is a cosmic sleight of hand. It teaches us that what we see is relative to where we stand. The universe is not breaking its own rules. It is simply playing with our perception, compressing time and space into a visual puzzle. It reminds us to look deeper, to understand that our perspective is limited, and that behind the impossible appearance lies a logical, graceful reality flowing at its own natural pace. Finally, we drift to the very edge of what is possible to see. We reach the cosmic horizon, also known as the limit of the observable universe. Because the universe is only 13.8 billion years old, light from beyond a certain distance has not had enough time to reach us yet. We are living inside a bubble of light. Visualize this horizon not as a wall, but as a mist. Beyond this line, there are likely more galaxies, more stars, more wonders, but they are currently invisible to us, hidden behind the curtain of time. We are standing in the center of a spotlight that is slowly widening. Every second, the horizon expands slightly, revealing a little bit more of the universe. We are in a constant state of discovery. We are not trapped. We are simply waiting for the light to arrive. It is a humble thought that there is always more beyond the edge, vast territories of silence and starlight that belong to the future, waiting patiently for the moment they can finally be seen. And beyond that misty horizon, where the light of the present fades into the shadow of the past, there stand the ancient beacons of the cosmos. These are the quasars. While we often think of the universe as a dark room dotted with small candles, looking back at a quasar is like staring directly into a high-powered searchlight across a dark ocean. These are the active hearts of young galaxies, powered by supermassive black holes that were feeding voraciously billions of years ago. Visualize these objects not as destroyers, but as the first great lanterns of the universe. They are so incredibly luminous that a single quasar can outshine an entire galaxy of 100 billion stars. Imagine a brilliant, piercing blue-white light, a steady beam cutting through the fog of the early universe. Because they are so far away, the light we see now left them when the universe was less than a tenth of its current age. They are ghosts of a more violent, energetic time, serving as milestones that mark the depth of the abyss. To look at a quasar is to look at the energetic youth of the cosmos, a time when the galaxies were waking up and shouting their presence into the void, lighting the path for the long history that was to follow. But before these great lanterns were lit, there was a time of profound, heavy silence. We drift back even further, to the era known as the Cosmic Dark Ages. After the initial flash of the Big Bang faded, and before the first stars ignited, the universe entered a slumber that lasted for hundreds of millions of years. Imagine a universe filled not with stars, but with a thick, opaque fog of neutral hydrogen gas. There were no points of light. There were no planets. There was only the endless rolling sea of gas in the dark. It was a time of incubation. Visualize floating in this absolute blackness. It is not a frightening dark, but a restful one, a womb-like state of waiting. The gravity was slowly, patiently pulling the gas together, unseen and unheard. It is a reminder that great things often require a long period of dormancy before they bloom. The universe had to rest in the dark, gathering its strength, condensing its potential, preparing for the moment it would finally open its eyes and fill the void with fire. And when that sleep finally ended, it was broken by a generation of giants. We call them Population 3 stars. These were the first stars to ever exist, the ancestors of every sun we see today. But they were unlike anything we know now. They were made of pure, primordial hydrogen and helium, untainted by heavy metals. Because of this purity, they could grow to immense sizes, hundreds of times more massive than our sun. Visualize these titans. They burned with a ferocious, brilliant blue light, hot enough to burn away the cosmic fog and make the universe transparent. They were the lonely kings of the dawn, burning bright and dying young. They lived fast, exploding as supernovae to seed the universe with the first carbon, oxygen, and iron. Every atom in your body that isn't hydrogen was forged in the hearts of these first ancient giants. They sacrificed themselves to build the chemistry of life. Imagine them flickering on one by one in the dark, the first sparks of creativity in the cosmos, clearing the gloom and setting the stage for the galaxies to spiral into existence. Drifting forward from the ancient dawn, we come to rest in the quiet grandeur of a specific landscape, a scar on the face of a red world. We descend to Mars, to the Val Marineris. We often think of the Grand Canyon on Earth as massive, but the Val Marineris is a canyon system that would stretch from New York to California. Visualize standing on the rim of this chasm just before sunrise. The canyon floor is so far down, 4 miles deep, that it is shrouded in shadow and morning mist. The sun rises, a small, fierce button of light, casting long, dramatic shadows across the red, layered rock. The silence here is absolute. The Martian atmosphere is thin, carrying sound only faintly, so the wind whispers rather than howls. As the light hits the canyon walls, they glow with shades of rust, ochre, and deep purple. It is a monument to the power of tectonic cracking and ancient water, a silent, empty cathedral of stone that has been waiting for millions of years for a visitor to admire its vast, lonely beauty. It invites a feeling of solitude that is not lonely, but majestic, a quiet place where the planet itself has opened up to reveal its history. Leaving the red dust of Mars, we float back to our own pale companion, the Moon, to listen to a secret buried in its crust. We tend to think of the Moon as a solid, dead rock, but it has a musical quality. When the Apollo missions jettisoned their lunar modules, crashing them back onto the surface, the seismometers they left behind recorded something extraordinary. The Moon rang, unlike Earth, which is soft with water and molten rock that absorbs vibration. The Moon is dry and rigid. When it struck, the vibrations echo and bounce for hours. Visualize the Moon as a giant suspended bell in the night sky. A single impact sets the entire sphere humming. It vibrates with a low metallic resonance, a gong sounded in the silence of space. Imagine that sound, a deep, enduring thrum that travels through the grey dust and the craters, vibrating beneath the feet of the astronauts. It suggests that the Moon is sensitive, that it remembers every touch, holding on to the energy of an impact and singing a long, low note of memory into the vacuum. And beneath that singing surface, there are hidden weights. As satellites orbit the Moon, they sometimes dip and accelerate, pulled down by invisible hands. These are the lunar mascons, massive concentrations of dense matter buried beneath the lunar maria. Visualize these as heavy, sunken hearts hidden under the grey skin of the Moon. They are likely the remnants of ancient asteroids that crashed into the Moon billions of years ago, punching deep into the crust and bringing dense metal with them. Lava welled up to cover the wounds, sealing the heavy metal inside. It means the gravity of the Moon is not uniform, it is lumpy. As you fly over these spots, you feel a tug, a heaviness. It is like flying over a buried treasure chest of incredible density. It gives the Moon a hidden topography, a secret map of weight and gravity that can only be felt, not seen, a reminder that even the most familiar faces have deep, heavy secrets beneath the surface. We release ourselves from the lumpy gravity of the Moon and drift into a dance with a shy partner. Earth has one large moon, but it also has companions that share our journey. One of these is an asteroid named Cruthon. It does not orbit Earth directly. Instead, it shares our orbit around the Sun in a beautiful, complex path known as a horseshoe orbit. Visualize this dance. Cruthon spirals around the Sun, sometimes moving ahead of Earth, sometimes falling behind. From our perspective, it looks like it is tracing a giant horseshoe shape in the sky, moving slowly toward us, turning around before it hits us and drifting away again. It takes hundreds of years to complete this cycle. Imagine a celestial waltz where the partners never touch, never hold hands, but move in perfect synchronization, mirroring each other's steps across the solar system. It is a relationship of distance and respect. Cruthon is a loyal friend, keeping pace with us through the ages, performing a wide looping pirouette in the dark a silent companion ensuring we never truly travel alone. This dance of orbits brings us to the centre of balance. We usually say the planets orbit the Sun, but this is a simplification. In reality, everything orbits a shared centre of gravity called the barycenter. Consider the relationship between Jupiter and the Sun. Jupiter is so massive that it does not just circle the star, it pulls on the star. The centre of gravity between them is not inside the Sun, but a point in empty space just above the Sun's surface. Visualize the Sun. It does not sit still in the centre of the solar system. It wobbles. It pirouettes around this invisible point, yanked by the gravity of its massive child. It is a beautiful display of mutual influence. Even the mighty Sun is moved by the planets it rules. It suggests a universe where power is not one way. Everything affects everything else. The solar system is a mobile of heavy spheres, all balancing on invisible wires, shifting and swaying in a delicate equilibrium where every member, no matter how small, plays a part in the movement of the whole. We dive now from the balance point into the crushing depths of the planet that causes that wobble. We descend into Jupiter, past the swirling clouds of ammonia, past the storms the size of Earth. We reach a layer where reality changes state. This is the ocean of metallic hydrogen. The pressure here is so intense, millions of times the pressure of Earth's atmosphere, that hydrogen gas is squeezed until it turns into a liquid metal. Visualize an ocean that has no surface, a sea of glowing, electrically conductive fluid that behaves like mercury. It swirls and churns in the dark, generating the massive magnetic field of the planet. Imagine floating in this deep, alien sea. It is a superconductor, allowing energy to flow without resistance. It is the hidden dynamo of the solar system. It is a place where the familiar element of water and stars is transformed into something heavy, shiny and powerful, a liquid mirror swirling in the crushing dark, creating the shield that protects the giant. Finally, we ascend from the chaotic pressure of Jupiter to the ordered elegance of its neighbour, Saturn. We fly to the north pole of the ringed planet and look down. There, staring back at us, is a perfect piece of geometry, the hexagon. This is a storm, a jet stream moving at hundreds of miles per hour, but instead of forming a circle, it forms a perfect six-sided shape. It is huge. 2 Earths could fit inside it. Visualize this immense hexagon spinning slowly in the golden light. The colour inside changes with the seasons, shifting from blue to gold. It looks like a giant cosmic rose, or a nut waiting to be turned by a celestial wrench. It defies our expectation of chaos. We expect storms to be messy, but here, the fluid dynamics have found a stable, sharp-edged order. It is hypnotic to watch. The straight lines, the sharp corners, the swirling vortex at the very centre. It is a reminder that nature loves math, that even in the winds of a gas giant there is a hidden desire for structure, a 6-sided mandala spinning eternally at the top of the world. And from that spinning mandala of ice and wind, that perfect geometry at the edge of the solar system, we turn our gaze inward for the final, most profound realization of all. We end our journey by looking in the mirror. This is the concept of stellar nucleosynthesis, or simply, the stardust truth. For most of the universe's history, the only elements were hydrogen and helium, simple, light and lonely. But you are complex. You're made of carbon, of oxygen, of nitrogen, of iron. Where did these heavy, intricate building blocks come from? They were not there at the beginning. They had to be forged. Every single atom in your body, save for the hydrogen in the water of your cells, was cooked in the crushing, fiery heart of a star. Visualize the calcium in your bones. That white strength was forged in the dying days of a massive red giant. Visualize the iron in your blood, the red river that keeps you alive. That iron was created in the final, violent second of a supernova explosion, the last gasp of a dying sun before it collapsed. The gold in your ring, the carbon in your breath, the oxygen filling your lungs right now, It all travelled through the void. It drifted through the nebulas we visited. It coalesced in the disks of young solar systems, and it eventually came together to form the Earth, and then to form you. Feel the weight of this truth as you lie in bed. You're not a stranger in this universe. You're not merely an observer looking up at the sky. You are the sky. You're the universe organising itself into a shape that can feel and dream and sleep. You're 13.8 billion years old. The energy that animates your mind is the same energy that powered the Big Bang. The matter that makes up your hands is the ash of long-dead stars. We've travelled billions of light years tonight, visiting black holes and diamond planets and singing moons, only to discover that the greatest wonder was the traveller all along. You are the galaxy waking up to look at itself. You are the way the cosmos knows it exists, and because you are made of the stars, you can never truly be lost. No matter where you drift, no matter how deep the sleep, you are always, inevitably at home. And now, the journey is complete. The ship of your imagination is slowing down, its engines humming a low, quiet note of arrival. The vast, swirling tapestry of the cosmos begins to fade, replacing the brilliant lights of the quasars and the colours of the nebulas with a soft, warm velvet darkness. It is the darkness of your own closed eyes, the most comfortable space in the universe. Feel the gravity of Earth, your home, your cradle, reaching up to hold you. It is a gentle, heavy hand, pulling you down into the mattress, anchoring you safely after your long flight through the void. There is nothing left to see. There is nothing left to learn. The library of the stars is closing its doors for the night, the lights dimming one by one, from the great fires of the galactic core to the small, steady candle of your bedside lamp. Let your breathing slow down to match the rotation of the planet, slow, steady, unhurried. Inhale the peace of the vacuum. Exhale the dust of the day. You are heavy. You are warm. You are ancient and made of light, resting in the quiet dark. The silence of the moon is with you. The patience of the mountains is with you. The deep, rolling rhythm of the cosmic ocean is rocking you, back and forth, deeper and deeper. Drift away from the words now. Let the concepts dissolve into a soft mist. You are safe in the centre of the web. The stars are watching over you, as they have for billions of years, a silent, glittering guard ensuring your rest is undisturbed. Let go of the timeline. Let go of the distance. You have returned to the centre. You have returned to the quiet. And now, 101 wonders are resting with you. Sleep now. Good night.